Okay, you got me, Chris.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Yes, I had to move to my Mac. That's where I had to go. So, the phone was being weird. So, Chris, I'm gonna bring this up just a minute. I got the background behind me, so see all my collectibles and all that. So, Chris, kind of tell me who you are and what you do.
So yeah, first off, I'm very fortunate. I work for the Tri-City Dust Devils. I've been the radio broadcaster for the team since 2012. Time really flies. It sort of seems like yesterday in a lot of ways, but I've just been really lucky. I work for great folks. It's an outstanding organization, and I have a ton of fun every summer being able to work with the team. I travel with the team, so the summers themselves are kind of a sprint and a marathon at the same time, where there's going to be some changes with minor league baseball, so we don't know how things will look kind of moving forward, but at least in the past, it has been 76 games in 81 days. So really the season itself is it's compact, but there's a lot that goes on during it. So yeah, I broadcast all the games for the team, and then in addition to that, during the summer, kind of help out as well on the kind of media relations, communication side during those summer months with the team.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long have you been doing this, Chris? A lot of people don't know how long it takes to be an announcer. How long have you been doing this?
I was super fortunate. So I'm from Marysville originally, and the high school I went to, Marysville Pilchuck High School, had an outstanding video production program. So I was able to announce my first game when I was 15. So I was really in a great spot for that. And I knew early on that, I love sports. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to play sports, to be around sports at a high level, or to try to, do it professionally. And I love telling stories. And that's what I find endearing about play-by-plays. You get to tell the story of the game. You get to weave in the stories of the players, the coaches. There's just so much. And then you just never know what's going to happen. Any game you go to, you have no idea what could possibly happen there. So I got started there. I knew I always wanted to do it. From there, I went to Washington State University. A lot of that time, I'd say most of the time during my 4 years in college, the fall and winter, every Friday night, I was going up to Spokane to call games. So I got the opportunity to call some games, quite a bit of games up there, and just you kind of do whatever you need to do to get that experience. From there, I spent 3 seasons announcing with the Wenatchee Applesox. They're in the West Coast League, and that was a fantastic experience. 2 of those years also worked full-time year-round in the office. And then also, in addition to my work with the Dust Devils, I also am the men's basketball broadcaster at the University of Idaho. I got into college broadcasting. I spent 2 years at Boise State as the women's basketball broadcaster there. And let's see now. Things go by so quick. I kind of have to pull out my fingers to count, but I'm not sure. I think, will this be my 8th season coming up? But I started in 2013, 2014, that season with Idaho. So I'm incredibly fortunate that I get to kind of balance my year out between baseball with the Dust Devils, and then during those winter months, doing basketball with the Vandals.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the daily routine that a lot of people don't see? Sports broadcasting is totally different than, just announcing, PA announcer. What's the routine, and what's the daily routine that you guys do? Is the setup, the mics, where everything's placed at when you go to games?
Yeah, it just sort of depends. I would say it depends on if you're at home or on the road. For the Dust Devils, there's a lot more work when you're at home, just because there's stuff that I do kind of behind the scenes. There's a lot more that goes into it, fortunately and unfortunately, than just putting on the headset and calling the game. A lot of prep in there. Usually part of my duties with the team, I help to get the lineup, distribute the lineups, roster updates, communicate those roster updates. There's kind of a lot of information where it helps me with my understanding for the broadcast, but it also can take some time where you're kind of the liaison a little bit to help communicate some information between some folks. But as far as, you set up before a game, and when you're at home, you have that set up for a while, and then you break it down and pack it up for the road games. I would say the routine wise, part of it's writing game notes. Probably on a normal game day at home, it's a busy day. I probably about 9:30 in the morning, I probably start writing the game notes. I don't do that necessarily in the office. I'm just doing that while I'm getting ready for the day. And then probably, doing some other stuff, whatever pops up that's a kind of a vague category, but a lot falls into that during the season. I get into the office between noon and 1. eat some lunch, get lineups, get that stuff kind of communicated, print out some game notes that I helped to write, get the lineups again all distributed, get those to the people who need them, get stats updated, get stats to people who need them. That kind of falls on me. And then, and then you're talking about the game, you get the game over with, you write the post-game story, you get that posted, and probably on a normal night, depending on how long the game goes, leave the ballpark 11:30. Kind of just depends on the day. And then on the road, it's different than that. And for basketball is a little more straightforward. Now there's a lot of prep that goes into a game, but you're more just kind of, you're showing up, you're getting your equipment set up, and then you're doing the game.
Mm-hmm. Now, what responsibilities you have as a radio announcer in previous broadcasting roles? What have been like your responsibilities that you've done over the years?
It can really vary. There can be a lot of different things that you kind of, end up helping out with. Like I said, when I worked in Wenatchee, I worked there full-time year-round. So, the fun part was the season, and anyone who works in sports will tell you the most fun part is the actual season when all the action has, because you spend all off season working for these games and getting ready for them. But the other 9 months, whatever it ends up being, when I worked in Wenatchee, I was doing sponsorship sales, and that was the biggest part of it. And then communications and whatever else might come up. And then, my work for the Dust Devils, like I was mentioning, game notes, post-game stories, roster updates. There's a lot to kind of communicate with, which is great, but you kind of serve as the liaison a little bit, where you might get information from the team, then you want to, get that information updated and communicate that to the other teams so they have that sort of information. And there's just a lot, you might not think about it, but the starting lineup is a big thing every day. And I'm usually the one who goes and gets that. But, the starting lineup, a lot of people depend on that, in the sense that then the person working up in the press box can start to build the graphics for that. You can get the lineups, written in the ballpark. So when fans come in and they want to fill out their scorecard, they can do that. So there's kind of just a lot of information stuff, at least on the baseball side during the season, that I help out with.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't know this too. See Geisa Stadium as much. We've won the Ballpark 3 years in a row. What's the ideal working environment in that stadium that's surrounded by the community?
It's been such a fantastic award for the team to get, and at least from my perspective on it, it's less about this is the greatest structure in minor league baseball and it's a fantastic facility and there's so many great things about it, but it's more about like the atmosphere and the environment that's created by the team. That's at least how I kind of view it. And I think that's a credit to the people who work for the team. It starts at the top. If you go to the game, I would put all my money on saying that Eric the Peanut Guy is the best on-field host in all of minor league baseball and all of baseball. He does so much. He's kind of the soul of everything for the team. And you have, Dusty as well. Just things like that, I think the team works really hard. And I think the team does an excellent job of it, of creating this outstanding environment where, if you go to a baseball game, there's kind of a varying degree of what type of fan you have. You have some fans who, are live and die on every pitch and they want to know every single thing about every player. And then you have people who are just there to have a good time. And I think you try to cater to that, where you create an environment where people from both ends of that spectrum can come and it can be an outstanding experience for them. So the award you mentioned, which I know the team, and rightfully so, takes a lot of pride in, I think comes from more of this, the things, it's less about, this is the nicest concession area, this is the nicest seats, the nicest group area, which all those things are really nice at Geisa Stadium. I think it's more about kind of that special sauce that goes into it, where whether you're someone in the Tri-Cities who loves going to games, maybe you're a season ticket holder or a mini plan holder, or you're someone who just is in the Tri-Cities and is going to the game and just checking things out, that you come away having a fantastic night, whether or not the team wins or loses.
Mm-hmm. Now, Eric the Peanut Guy's been around forever. He's one of the nicest human beings ever. I've worked around him and, had him on my page, and he's just so into it. And his hat collection is unreal. Every day he's got a different hat and he's got a different outfit. I'm going to ask you a funny one here. What's your favorite ballpark food that you recommend to people? Is it the Cracker Jacks, or what's the red licorice? What's one of your favorite ballpark foods?
It's hard because you can't go wrong with pretty much anything you get at the ballpark. I will say sometimes when you do every game, I've got to be a little careful that maybe I take a couple days off of ballpark food, because if your dinner for 76 out of 81 nights comes from the ballpark, as great as the food is, you might need to sprinkle in another vegetable or two in that. So just from the marathon aspect of it, there's a lot of great ballpark food. There's a lot that I do enjoy over the course of the season. But occasionally, just with the uniqueness of my job and traveling to every game, I have to be a little more conscious that maybe not every day I have food from the ballpark. But I guess to answer your question, Dippin' Dots at East Stadium, that's you can't go wrong with Dippin' Dots.
Now I'm going to ask you another one, Chris, here. As an announcer, what do you believe is your best asset in your mind?
It's an interesting question. I would say hopefully my best asset is that my enthusiasm for being there and my enthusiasm for the job comes across to anyone who listens. I mean, there's things you can control. Every broadcaster, wants to think they have a great voice or would love to have a great voice. And that's kind of like, throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastball. You're kind of either blessed with an arm that can throw 100 miles an hour, or some people you can work as hard as you want, but you're not going to be able to throw 100 miles an hour. So voice it's kind of subjective. It's one of those things that you work on, but it's kind of out of your control. But what you can control is, I think, just your voice and your kind of your authenticity, where I think that if it's someone tuning in, I hope they come across thinking, well, this broadcaster wants to be there. They're excited to tell these stories, and you're trying to amplify what happens on the field. And sometimes, over the course of a baseball season, not every game is going to be a nail biter, where you got to be able to capitalize on that and tell some stories and be prepared to make it an interesting broadcast and to captivate listeners that they still want to be listening in, even though it might not be the closest game. So yeah, I would say that's it, that hopefully come across as, authentically really wanting to be there and just my excitement for it. Because, you think about it, if you tune into a game and the person who's broadcasting it sounds disinterested in their voice, well, why are you going to be continuing to listen to the game? If what their broadcast is doesn't even sound like it's interesting them, you're not going to keep a listener interested. So hopefully it's the ability to convey that. And then regardless of what the game is, because you can't control how the game unfolds, that you are prepared enough to make it a really good broadcast every night, kind of no matter what comes up.
Mm-hmm. Now, over the years you've been around, we've had some great memories at East Stadium, being part of the NWL National Championship Series. Beating Spokane was a surprise last year for us, but we went to the championship series and didn't go out as we wanted to. Take me through those experiences, being part of a playoff team. The community was around these guys, voting for them, voting for the best ballpark. Take me through those experiences covering that postseason last year for you.
In my time, I've been fortunate that the team has made the Northwest League Championship twice. And while it's come up just short, going down to that final game, the deciding game both times, it's just so fun, because those games where, again, for baseball, every game is kind of a chapter in the story of the whole season, but you so much is on the line, and you can kind of feel the tension. And those are the type of games you live for as a broadcaster. And of course, broadcasting for the team, I'd love to, see the Dust Devils pull it off either in 2019 or 2015. But, I'm confident that someday the team is going to win that championship. And when it does, it's going to be all the more sweet after kind of some of those close calls in the past. And I've been fortunate. There have been some really fantastic games. I think there have been, the ones that jump out to me that I think about outside of kind of those playoff runs would be, there have been 2 no-hitters in my time with the team. And just, the July 3rd game every year is really special to me, because as a broadcaster, and it's kind of my summer version of Christmas, in the sense that in all the years I've broadcasted baseball, and I think again, the wheels are turning in my head when I'm doing math, but I think I've broadcasted baseball for 11 seasons now. And everywhere the 2 spots I've been, July 3rd has always been a home game, and it's always been one of the biggest crowds of the year. And just that excitement in the ballpark, that buzz, you can feel it. It's something, it just kind of gets to your bones, just the excitement of everyone there. The weather's great. And again, I can't really tell you the outcomes probably off the top of my head of any of those July 3rd games, but you just know that the stands are going to be packed, And it's the 3rd of July. There's fireworks after, so the fans, no matter what, are going to be there to the final out. Those are the ones that stick out to me as some of the special experiences.
Okay. Who has impacted you most in your career and how?
Wow. Well, that is an interesting question. I don't know if I've really thought about that in that sense. I'll give you a kind of a laundry list. I don't know if there's one. I'd start off with my parents. This is a strange business, and it takes a lot of understanding and people who support you. So I'd start right there. Number one, with my parents. I'm very fortunate. I'm married. I've been married for a little over a year, and my wife is A+, as she is the best. And as a spouse, you have to be very understanding with the travel and everything else that comes in with this. So she is right up there. And then I've been super, super fortunate to have a lot of mentors and a lot of people that just, really bend over backwards to help make an easier path for you and to kind of provide you that path. So I could rattle off a lot of names. There's not necessarily one, but there's a lot of them that have had a major impact, and kind of all along the way when you're just getting starting out, and then when you're getting maybe a little more established. And then I've been so fortunate too that every stop I've had great bosses, and I've worked with great coaches that everyone, it's not only is the work fun, but you get to meet these people and you get to, form these relationships with folks that last through the years. And it's really kind of enriching on top of just the fun of the games themselves.
Mm-hmm. Give me a couple of names you've seen, we had Fernando Tatis Jr. Can I name some names that you've seen that have gone to the big leagues that you've seen throughout the years?
So in my time with the team, I am bummed. I missed Russell Wilson by 2 years. So he was in 2010 and I started in 2012. So I just missed him. But that first year I was with the team, Charlie Blackmon had started with the Dust Devils at the very beginning of his career. And then he came back for just under a month. It was a decent chunk of the season back in that 2012 year. And so I was around for that. He was on rehab from AAA. And he was, I think he was expected to get to the big leagues, stick in the big leagues at that point. I'm trying to remember if he'd spent a little time in the big leagues prior, but he was on rehab from AAA at the time. But I didn't think anyone at the time projected him to be as impactful of a player as he has been. So looking back and seeing, up close and personal, some of his time with the Dust Devils really stands out. As you mentioned, Fernando Tatis Jr., that was a really stacked year for the Dust Devils, where there were some high draft picks, and then those guys kind of moved up late in the season. And then Fernando Tatis Jr. was kind of part of this next wave of some younger guys who got the opportunity to move up when some of those high draft picks got called up. I think that was 2016, just off the top of my head. So at the time, he has really good bloodlines because of watching his dad in the big leagues. And he was young. I believe he was 17. And to see it just develop into one of the most exciting young players in all of baseball, and to know that his baseball journey and at those beginning steps, that a slice of it was in the Tri-Cities and his time at Giza Stadium, is really fun to think about. So all those guys, whether it's with the Rockies, who was the Dust Devils affiliate from the beginning of the team in 2001 up through the 2014 season, or the Padres from 2015 up until now, to watch those guys reach the big leagues has been great. And there's been a number of opposing players that have come through the Tri-Cities for the opposing teams that have gone on to do some pretty outstanding things. So it's really been fun to watch. It's been a neat level, and we'll see again. There's a lot still up in the air, a lot to be determined as we speak right now here at kind of the beginning of November, as far as what the future of minor league baseball is going to look like. But at least the way things have been for the Dust Devils, it's been really, really cool to see the guys who have come through.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Russell Wilson was one of them. I've been around, Tri-Cities for a while, so I've seen him, but I really never knew who he was kind of, Charlie Blackmon was too either. But every time I see him on TV, then Russell's like, you see all these guys, they compared, I was watching that game against Russell and Kyler Murray the other night. They're comparing baseball players because they're both baseball players, and they got that great arm, just a rotation where they throw. But watching Fernando Tatis Jr. was amazing this year, seeing him on TV and see what he's played a big impact with that team. So let's see here. Let's get another one here. I'm not trying to take too much time out of the day, Chris. Let's see. What has been one of your, what greatest moment games you've covered so far?
So I would say just, kind of those ones I mentioned before of going to the championship series, getting there to the deciding game of the championship series in the 2019 season. The series with Spokane was really neat. That really stood out to get to the championship series. The 2 no-hitters, those are really dramatic games. And to see them unfold and to end up being no-hitters and to call those fantastic. And those July 3rd games always kind of stand out year in and year out. For basketball, I'm super fortunate that my first year with Idaho, the team went to the WAC tournament championship game, ended up losing to New Mexico State. But, you wake up and you go into that game knowing that if the team, it would have been an upset at the time. New Mexico State was a good team, and Idaho kind of made a bit of a Cinderella run through the tournament. But if you win that one more game, you're 40 minutes of good basketball away from going to the NCAA tournament. So I think, games like that stand out. And I've been fortunate at Idaho. There have been a number of real nail biter games. There was one 2-3 years ago now against Montana. And there are a lot of basketball games that I could probably rattle off too that were really fun ones over the years. So I've been fortunate. It's funny to think that, I was counting it the other day. I've done over 1,000 games in some way, shape, or form. And it's funny that some of them blur together a little bit, but the ones that stick out, and it's kind of it's fun to look back on them, but kind of the real joy of the job is just knowing when the next game is and being able to tell that story. And that's the best part of doing that is I feel like my hobby is my work. My work is my hobby, that the work itself is the reward, the preparing for the game, getting ready for it, making sure you feel like you've got enough information, you've got the stories you want to tell. That's the reward of the job, which is the best part of it and keeps you getting excited for the next game.
Mm-hmm. Give me one of your greatest on-field promotions you've seen. Is it the barrel racing? I'm just gonna kind of throw you some funny questions there. What's been one of your favorite knocker ball or boxing? What's been one of your greatest on-field promotions you've seen inside the booth?
That's an excellent question. I would say for the Dust Devils, my favorite is when they do 60 seconds with the Dust Devil, and Eric the Peanut Guy kind of does a lightning round question with one of the players, and he's always got some fun questions and always able to draw out some sort of funny answer out of one of the guys. From there, oh boy, that's a good question. I would say, it's funny. I've seen a couple engagements. Those are always interesting to see, so they work those into promotions, and it's fun just when you have the uniqueness of each community that, you go to a Dust Devils game, there's a lot of great things about the Tri-Cities community that the team celebrates. But when you travel with the team and you go to other spots, you get to kind of enjoy a little slice of their life and what makes their community unique. I think of Vancouver, they have the sushi race where they do that every game, where they have Chef Wasabi and Miss BC Roll. There's like all these different characters, and they go on this race, and they have a graphic on their video board that goes with it. And Eugene does they do a lot of funny ones. I know when we're there, they have kind of a rally Sasquatch that they incorporate in when they're trying to come back late in games. There's a number of ones just throughout the Northwest League where we get to travel through and that's the best part of it, is that each different community, it's something that's kind of unique to that area.
Mm-hmm. Now switching to the Wenatchee Applesox, what's being part of that West Coast League? What's that been like part of you, being around? Because we have the Wall Sweets here. What's that been like for you?
So I had a fantastic experience working for the Wenatchee Applesox. So I just announced for the team in 2008. And then for 2 years in 2010 and 2011, I announced for the team. But then in the off season, I lived there year round and worked for the team year round. And it's a great level of baseball. It is, college players who are, really kind of top tier college players that they're, getting a chance to sharpen their skills and to hopefully, get prepared for professional baseball in the future, but more immediate to get ready for their college seasons. But they come from some of the the best college programs from across the country, but also with that too, the guys who don't come from, maybe UCLA or Oregon State, they're guys from maybe some smaller schools. Well, they get their chance to go up against these guys and play with these guys from some of their bigger schools. And, just from baseball is one of those things. There are late bloomers. There are guys who are overlooked. And when you get an opportunity, you can make the most of it. And it doesn't matter where you're from or what college you went to. If you're good and you get an opportunity, there are guys from every level of programs who end up making it to the big time. So it's just, that's a really fun level there. And part of my work now too is, last year I was with the Applesox, it was 2011. But I actually work now with the West Coast League. I've done that since the start of 2016. So my broadcasting, it's kind of seasonal, where the Dust Devils are in the summer and basketball is in the winter, and then kind of pick up whatever freelance work I can hopefully get to fill in the gaps in there. But I've also worked with the West Coast League. It's a non-broadcasting role, but I work as their director of online communications. And I've done that since the start of 2016. So not only did I get the firsthand experience of being at those games and traveling with the team and being there in Wenatchee. And as part of it too, I was there for the first ever Walla Walla Sweets game. That was against Wenatchee. So I was there for that game, which was really fun. But now I work with the league. So I these guys who I either saw in the league or just because I follow, because I love baseball, I kind of get to follow them and I kind of get to be a cheerleader in my role for the entire league, which I love because I'm passionate about baseball, and I'm passionate about baseball specifically in the Pacific Northwest. So being able to do my job with the Dust Devils and then to kind of balance that with the work I do with the West Coast League, I feel like I get the best of all worlds when it comes to just baseball in our region.
Mm-hmm. Now, tell me one of your accomplishments that you've been most proud of over the years.
Well, it's interesting. I hope I'm a good teammate. I guess that'd be up to others to say, but the thing I really like about baseball is you work with, it kind of feels like a team. I work in the office when I'm there in the summer, and the team does a great job of making it feel like if you're an employee there, you're part of the team, and the goal is to provide the best experience for fans. And part of that, I feel like my little slice of that is to provide the best possible broadcast and to, provide the information that helps to make that possible and to, kind of do the best job that I can do within that. So I guess as an accomplishment, you'd have to leave that to others, but I would say that hopefully being a good teammate in kind of whatever I do in broadcasting and as a employee, that I'm pretty good at that. And one other thing that I'm certainly proud of, I ended up winning a couple years ago. They have an award through the National Sports Media Association. They give each state a sportscaster and sports writer of the year, and I was incredibly fortunate and incredibly grateful to have won that award for the state of Idaho back a few years ago. And super humbling, and that was over the moon. Just was excited about that, and just it's one of those things that I was very grateful for. But part of that, you get to go back. They have a awards weekend, and the Dust Devils were fantastic about it. So I missed some games, and I hate missing games, but it was a really kind of unique opportunity to go back for that awards weekend. And you get you're around the sportscasters and sports writers, winners from all over the country, and the national winners. So some of the best broadcasters in the country, you're there, you're getting to meet them, you're talking best practices with them, you're going to workshops, learning from them. So that was really a special thing. And just to be back into, there's kind of a fraternity to doing this, in the sense that there's not a ton of these jobs, and they're really sought after, where there's only so many people you can kind of swap war stories with that maybe get it to the same level, that have kind of, for lack of a better analogy, have been in the trenches in the same way. So going back there for that was it was an incredible experience, and I learned a ton. So I guess number one though would be, I hope I'm a good teammate for all the people that I work with, and kind of every aspect of putting on a broadcast, or any of the kind of the details that come with any of the jobs that I have.
Okay. Now take me through the atmosphere of being around, the Vandals, and you said Boise State. What's the atmosphere like being in Idaho that people don't really see a whole lot from Washington and Oregon?
It's fantastic. There's a different vibe a little bit around college sports. It's just, with you're the Dust Devils, these guys are typically starting their careers, but they're professionals at that point. They're professional baseball players. So, they get a lot of help and assistance and guidance, but at the end of the day, like, you got to have your own fire in your belly to make your career a successful one. While, these college players, even though they're kind of in that same age group, there's kind of a different feel being around college in the sense that, if you're in the local community, you're a Dust Devils fan, but you also, if you're a fan of a college team, it's probably because you either grew up in that community or you went to that school. So there's a lot of tradition that goes with broadcasting and being around a college program. So I'm not that old, at least I hope I'm not that old, depending on how you look at it. But being around both of the teams, like, keeps you young. There's this great energy from being around the players and just their excitement. And it's a really neat time in their life that you get to be there for and to kind of help tell the story of it. So basketball there's been a lot of just, great women at the, when I was at Boise State and men that I've been around, and to see them kind of thrive on the court and to see them go on and do really great things in life is really neat. And it's just, you travel around basketball, you're going further distances. So baseball, you're on buses for everywhere you go in the Northwest League. But I've been able to go a lot of unique spots, a lot of different spots with a lot of these guys. And it's tough after 4 or 5 years when they end up graduating. And I've been around long enough now that they've, guys have cycled through where I've been there from day one to their last game. That it's tough because there's been just so many like really neat people you're around, and you get to watch their college career from beginning to end. I get to tag along to go to some really cool places. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, the team was in the Great Alaskan Shootout a few years ago. So to spend Thanksgiving up in Alaska, and I'd never been to Alaska before, and to spend some time up there. And there's just all sorts of spots that, there've been some bigger venues doing a game at USC. I did a women's basketball game at Syracuse. In Stanford, just the travel. Idaho plays WSU every year, obviously because of the proximity right next to each other, which makes for a fun game every year on the calendar. So there's just all these experiences that you get to be around. They're different between baseball and basketball, but they are a ton of fun. Okay.
Any other questions, Chris? Do you want to ask me some questions about anything, or if it's up to you, want to ask any questions about me or anything? That's what I kind of do with these kind of lives for my page. Kind of throw some questions at you, kind of throw some questions at me, so it's more interactive. Do you have any questions for me about anything?
That's interesting. Let's see here. You got Geisa Stadium as your background. I guess for someone who gets to work for the Dust Devils, what's your favorite part of when you're able to be out at the ballpark and experience just baseball in general, but maybe specifically just Dust Devils baseball?
So for me, myself, I work for KNDU, NBC. I worked for the Dust Devils for one of the summers before I came to KNDU. Been around the Dust Devils for a while. Been to games a whole lot. I don't know how many games I went last year. The year I've been so many games, and being part of seeing our team go to the championship series, seeing those, being part of that, it's kind of cool. This past year when we went, not the team we wanted to beat, we needed to beat, but I was there filming that, and I was like, man, just the way the community is, being around, being part of news, being part of sports, it makes me feel good about myself to see what I'm doing better as a photographer and being part of sports. So sports has been my thing for a long time, and covering the Dust Devils, I covered for the Fever for like 4 years. Their live stream, kind of build my way up a little bit, covering the AMs too, if I ever get the chance to. So kind of just building my resume up about filming, games and different teams. I filmed a couple of Whitman games for their basketball program, which is outstanding. So kind of building my resume around sports, but it's been fun being part of that community and meeting Eric and then meeting some other people over there. It makes it a lot fun. Makes it more exciting than other ballparks. I went to Spokane last year, and my coworkers called me a traitor. Said, "Oh, you went to Spokane State." I'm like, no, I just want to see how it is. but it's baseball, and it makes it, I love the summer feeling. Nothing else better than, those sunsets and, seeing the kids run across the field, for a Pizza Hut pizza, or just in general. It's just been a blast seeing what our team has developed, especially being around, seeing Russell Wilson, then, Joey Gallo being around Spokane area, come here a couple times. Charlie Blackman, Tatis Jr. Just in general, just the names that have been around here. It's been absolutely, exciting that people don't really get to see. Then a lot of people, when you ask about, let's say Russell, oh wait, he didn't play baseball there. I'm like, yep, yeah, he did a while back. I still have the program when he's still in there. So it's kind of interesting on how our community is so small, but we produce big names too.
No doubt. No, everything you said makes a ton of sense, and it's exciting just to be around it. As you know, it is a fun way to just to make a living, as far as professional or profession to pursue. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. So it just makes me wish we're back out there soon. Obviously there are bigger things and more important things in sports, but whenever the day is that we all if things get back enough to normal, or back to normal, that we're all back out at the ballpark, or wherever we are, whatever kind of a sporting venue, sporting event. I can't wait. That's going to be a fantastic day. But like all things in life, you gotta be patient. And again, there's more important things, and whenever we can get back to it, I know everyone will be back and ready to go, and that will feel like Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm. Always, when baseball comes around, it's gonna be awesome. Now, I really, really missed it this year. It's just so upsetting. Then it's just, well, we got to move on. But we had to do a bubble thing for MLB, and it kind of worked out. Then it really worked out. So, Chris, do you have any other questions before I let you go about anything else? Kind of throw some questions at me if you have any. But if not, we can call it good.
That's it. I just I appreciate the chance to visit with you today, and not that I wasn't raring to go, but I feel like I even got a bigger itch to scratch to get back to calling a game at Geisa Stadium. And I got the upcoming hoop season, and we'll see how that goes. And obviously everyone's kind of just in wait and see mode right now on a lot of things. But again, just hopefully we're all back out at the ballpark before we know it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to kind of cut this down a little bit so it's not as long. Then I'm going to put on my page. Then I wish you had an Instagram so you can see it, but I'll also show it to you. I can send it to you if you want. But it's kind of building. So what I'm doing, it's kind of building around the community a lot more, is building these kids' profiles, kind of getting one-on-one chance, because I don't really get to meet these kids and meeting you guys one-on-one all the time, because I'm always out and about filming and then, kind of sitting down. So this is kind of a great way of meeting you guys and see what you guys do differently, that being part of the sports industry, sports community, it really impacts our community a lot more, and seeing, oh, Eric was on here, you're on here now, and just kind of building the profiles of different, not just the kids, the athletes a lot, but mostly focusing on what other people do in broadcasting, journalism, internships, photography. It's kind of building around the community, around the PNW a little bit more.
Awesome.
So,
well, that sounds great.
All right, Chris, appreciate you coming on, my man.
Yeah, no, thank you. We'll talk
Anytime.
soon.
Yep,
okay.
Take it easy, Chris.
You too.
Yep, bye.